It's working. It's a little delayed. Hello, everyone. How are you? We are so happy to welcome all of you to our kitchen here in the Fulton home. It is our first ever Facebook Live event, and so we're working out some of the technical difficulties of getting started here. But here we are, and we are just so happy to be here and welcome all of you. We made it. Welcome to the first ever extract making party. So we're so glad to have you here in our home. We're watching your comments here. Hello from Los Angeles. Yes, we are right side up. Carol, thank you. We figured it out. Hello, Karen. Hello, everyone. How fun is this? It's like you're all here with us, and we're just so happy. Oklahoma. I mean, all these different people. So we're just so happy to have you all with us.
Hi, Laura.
So we were talking, Jill and I, before we started. It was 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, and it was right here in this kitchen, right on this island right here, that Jill got her friends, and they made their first ever vanilla extracts.
Yep, right here. It was so fun.
And
really.
It was an adventure. You know, they went to the liquor store to get all the different liquors, and you're, walking around with like the cart full of
I know. We kind of had to explain because we felt like, people thought we were, drinking it up.
But that is how VanillaPura began, and then it was just like 5 months ago that we started up making vanilla extracts by VanillaPura on Facebook, and we just celebrated this week 15,000 members.
Wow!
15,000 people that are part of our group now, and what a gift. I mean,
we're so happy to have you with us.
It has grown so much faster than we thought it would, and there's something when Jill was making extract with her friends, and as we started listening to everyone else and their extract adventures, what we found was that there's just something sweet, obviously, that is synonymous with extract making. You can't make vanilla extract without smiling. And so when you smile, you feel good, and during like these crazy times that we're living in right now, there's just something nice about having a place where you can go to smile. And so the whole point of VanillaPura is just that. And the whole point of our Facebook group is just that. Let's have a place where we can all get together, smile, do something fun, be kind, and have a great time. So as we said, we had a contest, and we do it every week. We call it the Free Beans for Kind Words. Mm-hmm. And the way that it works is that strangers have to nominate other strangers for things that they've done that are kind. And we go through all those nominations, and we award free vanilla beans to someone who was nominated. And this week's nomination, it was fun to kind of read them all. I think there's over like 200 nominations in there. And this week's was, we had a newbie, as they called themselves, who nominated a newbie.
Another newbie.
Which we love that. I mean, the newest of new strangers are just naturally helping each other out. But our winner of this week's Kind Words, Free Beans for Kind Words competition is Ken Tabor. Ken, congratulations. Way to go, Ken. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ken.
Thank you for showing vanilla bean sweetness. We appreciate it. Mm-hmm. So Ken, shoot us an email at support@vanillapura.com, and we'll make sure that we get you your free vanilla beans right away. So,
should we let the party begin?
I think we should let the party begin. Here we go. Let's do it.
Okay.
So, you go ahead.
No.
You want me to go ahead? So here's what we've done. We reached out to 5 of our favorite vanilla extract makers who have been with us from the very beginning of our group, and with their permission, we asked them to share their recipes with us. And so if all of you go, and if you opened another tab, and if you went to vanillapura.com, you go to the recipe section, and underneath there's a little menu that'll drop underneath recipes on the top menu bar. One of our main menu items says recipe. Open it up. There's 2 recipe blogs now. There's our dessert blog, which has been there forever and ever. There's a brand new blog called Extract Recipes. And if you go to the brand new blog that says Extract Recipes, you'll see 5 recipes that are not ours. They're our members' recipes. And we have, with their permission, we have named each recipe after them or after someone that they wanted us to name the recipe after.
Because you can't have a party with 2 people. We had to get you guys here with us. So we are using your recipes to share with the entire group. So should we get started?
Why don't we get started? So our very first recipe that we will begin with is called the Therese. And it is named after Therese de Carlebach. And Therese has been one of our favorite members from the very beginning. And I think all of you will recognize these names because she's commented on like so many different posts. But this is her recipe. And so we thought we would go ahead and make this very first. I see someone has posted the at-home extract recipes link.
Oh, was that Dawn? You guys are a lifesaver. Thank you so much.
You guys
This is
are great.
awesome.
Oh
Who
my
else do we
gosh.
have? We have so many people from...
Glenda.
Oh my goodness,
Glenda's
Dawn.
looking for the counter. Dawn, you got the link. So thank you for sharing it. The link now is in the comments. Thank you, everyone, for helping us out here on our
Thank
first
you.
party. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
So Therese, let's talk about Therese. Therese's recipe was a very simple recipe, but one that she loved. It is Madagascar vanilla beans in Grey Goose vodka. And so we just wanted to show you how to make like a Therese's recipe, which is super rich. I'll tell you what makes this great is Grey Goose vodka is a very good vodka. And so it's very smooth. I think it's 5 times distilled. And so it'll make a very creamy extract as we let it sit. So why don't we just show you how you make vanilla extract. If it's your very first time, you've never done it before, we are going to pretend to be a brand new vanilla extract making couple. And we're going to make the Therese. So
Yes.
here we are. What is this?
Oh my gosh.
Our beans! Our beans arrived! Our beans arrived! There they are! We got our beans!
Madagascar, 2 ounces.
Madagascar, 2 ounces. We're so excited. Oh, look, they're vacuum sealed. They look wonderful. Let's open them up. How do they smell? Oh, my heavens. Let me see. So, Madagascar beans, they're wonderful. When you first smell them, they're buttery, they're creamy, they're that traditional vanilla bean that we all grew up with. Madagascar vanilla beans are the most popular beans. Like 70% of the world's vanilla beans come from Madagascar. So it's always everyone's very favorite. So let's go ahead and put the vanilla beans in the bottle.
Okay, I do want to say, if you're having a hard time finding the link, don't worry about it. It's not imperative. Just listen, you can go later. It's really not, you don't have to be there. So if you're having a hard time, just listen. We're going to be very basic here.
Yep.
Okay, so we're starting with vodka, which is pure. It doesn't add any taste. You're going to get all of the Madagascar beans in this one, okay? So really, with this one, we're not going to do anything to the beans. We are going to put them in whole. Just like they come out of the bag, we're going to put them into our bottle. Now, this is a 16-ounce bottle, so I know that 2 ounces will go into this 16-ounce bottle, and then you just fill it up to the top with the vodka. No measuring for this bottle because we already know that it's 16 ounce. So I'm just going to take it out, just going to put it in the bottle. Just like that. Pretty easy, huh?
So the rules you have to remember, if you're a newbie and it's your very first time making extract, and the Therese is such a great recipe to use for this reason, that it's 1 ounce of beans for every 8 ounces of alcohol. The alcohol per FDA standard needs to be a minimum of 35% or 70 proof. And in this case, that's right where we're at. And so the simplest of simple recipes is whole beans in a bottle. The other thing that you'll notice is that this bottle is tall enough that it'll cover all the beans. And so it looks like my head is getting cut off the video. We'll fix that here in a minute. It's okay. I'm just a talking head anyway, so we'll just go ahead and do that.
Oh,
I know. So let's go ahead and put the vodka in the bottle.
There's no special way to do this. It's just a regular plastic funnel. It's not fancy. Just pretty easy.
So again, this is exactly a 16-ounce bottle, 2 ounces of vanilla beans. Oh, and it looks like it comes out pretty quickly and it'll overflow pretty fast. So you want to make sure that you've always got a rag handy.
Towel.
You have a towel, handy. We'll just clean that off really quick. And then we'll lock down the top. And that is it. So we love these swing top bottles We think that they're a lot of fun.
They're kind of cute and different.
They're airtight. They have a rubber stopper up on top. They lock in all of the air, and now you're done. Now, we left, again, the beans are whole. If you look at the side of the bean, we just barely put it in, and you see these little air bubbles now that are floating up the side of the bean, and within 24 hours, you'll start seeing sometimes the oil will start coming out. You'll see those little white bumps. And, you know, within about a week, you might have some white that's coming off the sides. That's just the vanillin oil coming out and, you know, making the beginning of a very rich extract. Now, the bottle is not complete until you put a label on it.
That's right, because we have to remember what's in it. What kind of beans and what kind of spirits, because I'll never remember myself, right?
So we have added, if you go to the Extract Making Guide Center on our website, there's all of those different topics that people use that have, you know, all of the different lessons on extract making. At the very bottom, you'll see a link that goes to a label that we've created. We have our graphic designers right now working on a ton of different labels so you can choose the style that you want. But all of our labels are made for Avery 22820. If you can kind of see that there, Avery 22820. And so you can go to Office Depot. You can order these on Amazon, of course, but they're pre-scored. So if we open that up, they're pre-scored into these nice little ovals. You just put that in your inkjet printer. You hit print on that template that we've created that you'll see on the Extract Making Guide Center at the very bottom, and you just hit print. And we have designed, there's only one finished label right now, and we've designed, and it's this one, VanillaPura. And it lists, the very first thing is the type of bean, the type of spirit is the second, the date that the extract was created, and then the name. And if you made it, you would put your name if you're giving it as a gift. In this case, we wrote the Therese. And so we'll go ahead and peel this label off on the Therese with today's date, and we will go ahead and apply that right there. And there we go. The Therese is done.
Yes, I'm looking at some of your comments here, and I see that some people are asking, hey, they didn't split the beans.
We didn't split the beans, and you know what? We did that on purpose. And we're going to we're going to make another one here pretty soon, and we're going to split the beans. Go ahead.
No, we wanted to be able to have different varieties for you so you can see that there isn't really one way to do this. Everybody does it differently. Some people want to split them so the caviar comes out into the extract. Some people want to save their caviar and use it later. So really, there's no wrong way to do this. We just want to show you all the different ways. And I'm sure there are many more.
There are many more, but on this one,
we want to show you a few different ways, and then you choose.
Yep.
You do what you want to do.
There you go.
Okay, so we've got the Therese with absolute
or Grey Goose.
Sorry.
Yeah, with Grey Goose
vodka and Madagascar beans.
Thank you, Therese, for sharing your recipe. That's our very first one. Should we go to the second one?
Therese was actually one of our first members. She's been with us from the very beginning, and we've loved having her with us. And thank you.
Thank you. So Therese, Madagascar, whole beans, uncut, unsplit, on purpose. With Grey Goose vodka. Let's now go to the next one. We are so excited about this one. Ramona Wysong. Ramona.
This is called the Ramona.
So Ramona, from the very beginning of our group, she commented quite frequently on everyone's post, and when they would ask, what's the best spirit to use to make alcohol? Ramona always was saying Buffalo Trace Bourbon.
Yeah.
She loved Buffalo Trace Bourbon. And so we went all over the place here in Utah to try to find Buffalo Trace Bourbon, and we couldn't find it anywhere. And so finally we had friends that were on a trip, and they bought it for us and brought it back from, I think they were in Las Vegas. And so we finally have Buffalo Trace Bourbon, and Ramona gave us her recipe, and we're so appreciative, Ramona, of you sharing it with us. It's a very basic recipe as well. The bourbon is what makes it special, and we're excited to make this one for her.
Yep.
So, Ramona's recipe calls, so bourbon, let's talk spirits just a little bit while we're getting it ready. The reason that we use different spirits, so vodka is a very pure, clear, tasteless spirit. And so when you're using a vodka, really what you're counting on is you're counting on the taste of the vanilla to come through unencumbered. It's completely like that vanilla with vodka is really, you're getting the taste of the bean and not much else. When you then start getting into darker spirits like a bourbon is made with 51% corn and then some blend of other starches, and they're made in an American oak cask. And so a bourbon has a very smoky smell that all of you are familiar with. It's smoky, it's sweet, you can kind of smell the sweetness of the corn. It's very different. That's actually a very good smelling bourbon.
Yeah,
it's dark, it's kind of spicy, has a little bit of a kick to it. So already, as soon as you add a bourbon to your extract, it's going to be a lot different than an extract with a vodka. And its uses are different as well. I found that with bourbon, it's used really well with like darker chocolates and caramels and things that are a little richer. Some people will put it into their proteins, and they'll make like a salmon glaze or things like that with their vanilla extract that is made with a bourbon base, just to add like a little splash of sweetness when it's out on the grill. And so this recipe with the Buffalo Trace bourbon, again, is very simple. It's Madagascar vanilla beans, right?
Yep.
And Buffalo Trace bourbon.
That's right.
So we're using a smaller bottle on this. This is our 8-ounce kind of a flask bottle, so it's 1 cup. So in there, we already have all of the 1 ounce of vanilla beans pre-cut.
All we did was we cut them in half, and we'll show you that a little bit later with our next one. But to get them into this bottle, it was just easier for us to cut them in half.
So one of the important things you've got to do when you're making your extract is you've got to make sure that the beans are fully submersed all the time. And so depending on the bottle that you like, and this is even more important when you get into like Christmas gifts, because you'll use like these little 2-ounce bottles to give them out. And so you've got to find creative ways to get the beans to make sure that they're fully submersed the whole time that they're extracting, so you're getting all the vanillin out through the extraction process. So we didn't slice these, we just cut them. We left them whole other than that. And we use a knife to do it, or we use scissors to do it. So let's go ahead and put the bourbon in it.
Okay, I also saw that someone asked, do you use amber glass, amber bottles? We don't. We use clear bottles. We just store them in a dark place. If you're going to store it on your counter with the sunlight, maybe you want to consider doing the amber bottles. But we just keep them in a cupboard and let them go and let them just sit and go in and check on them ever so often. But we just always use the clear bottles.
The other reason we like to use the clear bottles is you can watch the extraction happening. And with the amber bottles, you can't actually see what's going on with the different beans, and you can with glass. And so we like to watch the extraction happening. As Jill mentioned, when you're leaving the product to extract, you want to keep it in a dark place, away from sunlight. The sunlight can have an impact, and we ought to maybe even just leave one here in the window that we can review in another party that we'll do, so we can see, you know, what can happen. But you don't want it to heat up. You don't want to subject it to, you know, adverse temperature where it gets really hot or really cool. So cool, dry place, out of sunlight. Amber bottles keep UV rays out of the actual product. As long as it's in a cool, dry place, though, no need to have an amber bottle. You can use glass so you can watch the extraction happening.
Yeah.
So, here we go.
Hard time with this.
Having a hard time? That one doesn't want to go up there? Oh, wait. Nope. Up. Let's lift the lever up. Oh, look at that. This one is kind of stuck, isn't it? Okay, here we go. No, look at that. See, this is a live show. We do all of our own stunts. We do not have stunt doubles. We actually are having a problem with that bottle getting it closed, aren't we? Technical difficulties with a bottle. So let's just leave that one open, and we'll deal with that in just a little while.
Okay, but let's put our label on it.
We want to put the label on it. So this is the Ramona.
Thank you, Ramona, for being a wonderful member of our group. And Ramona was also one of our first members. We love having her be part of our group. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramona.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Isn't that? That fits perfect. So thank you, Ramona, for your recipe and for letting us participate in that with you. I wish you were here, Ramona, and maybe in a year when all this stuff is over, maybe we can have special guests out here in Utah, and you can come onto our show with us and make your extract with us. I think that'd be much more fun. That would be fun. Oh my gosh, that would be fun. Let's maybe do it. Okay, so the very next recipe that we're excited about, this one is called the Gingrich. And this one is named after our very own Paul Gingrich. Paul I'm sure, is another name that you recognize because he's another one of those guys that he responds to all the posts. He's always helping out the newbies, the basic questions, the hard questions. Paul is just as kind as they come. He gets nominated. In fact, you'll recognize a lot of these names because every week when we do the free beans for kind words, we get these people that we're highlighting here are all nominated all the time. And so it's really fun to kind of recognize them and you know, have their names up on the site now because they're such a special part of who we are. And Paul's one of them.
He is.
So here's the thing. We can't make Paul's the exact same way that Paul Gingrich makes it because we don't have a sous vide. And Paul uses the sous vide.
He does the sous vide method.
There's a lot of discussion on our page about the sous vide method, and if any of you have questions, we would recommend that you get a hold of Paul and you he'll just post something.
Post your questions on the group, and there's actually quite a few people who do the sous vide method.
Yep. And Paul will share, and all the others that use it will share as well. So though we can't do the sous vide method, we thought we would use Paul's beans and Paul's extract here to talk about slicing and the benefits of slicing, as well as you know, just fitting the right bottle with the right bean and how it all works. So specifically in this particular one with Paul, he wanted to use the Maker's Mark bourbon, also with Madagascar beans. His instructions on how to use the sous vide are on our website, so you can look at that and see how he actually does it. But given the size of the bottle, you see how it's a shorter bottle. This is a 16-ounce Boston round bottle. We have to cut the beans, but we also want to slice the beans here, so you can see the slicing method. And I think you can see it on camera. There it is, Jill. Why don't you move it just a little bit right here. No, go back to this way. There it is. We're looking at our camera here on the computer, and I think that'll work. So Jill, why don't you go ahead and we'll show you how to slice. And it's very simple. We just do a cut right down the middle of the bean. And what slicing does is it exposes all that caviar that's inside of the bean. And in our experience, it helps to extract the vanilla just a little bit faster. And again, this is one of those hot topics on our group, but when we have done this, when we have split vanilla beans, we've had really good extracts in as little as 6 months. Now, they'll still have some alcohol taste, and maybe nothing at 6 months is ever as sweet as it will be in a year or as sweet as it will be in 2 years. In fact, we have an Indonesian right now that we're using that is 3 years old, and it is absolutely wonderful. So more time is always better, but we've had very good extracts in just 6 months when we slice. Okay. So you slice them down the middle.
Yep, it's just a slice right down the middle, just like that. It's super easy, not hard.
Yeah.
Right down the middle, and then I'm just going to cut them in half so they fit in this bottle that we have, but if you have a taller bottle, you wouldn't have to do that. This is my favorite way. I like to have the specks in my extract. I like to see all those little specks when I pour it out. When you're baking, I want to see all of that goodness. So I like to split the beans.
We like to split the beans. We've had really good experience with it, but it does mean when, you know, the extract is done and you pull the beans out to make sugar, to make something else, it's going to leave those little seeds all over the outside of the bottle. And you can use, you know, spirits to kind of wash them out, but you're adding more alcohol. It's just kind of comes with it, but we like it. We like the seeds. We like those little seeds in our extract.
Now, if your bean gets stuck up here, we just shake it and then they get to the bottom. Just shake them down and they get to the bottom. If you get stuck, I mean, you can always try and get it out again. It's not that hard, but just shake them. You can see how beautiful all of those are. I can even see some of the oil already on the outside of the glass.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Healthy, good, grade A beans.
Yeah.
So why don't we go ahead and add the Paul Gingrich Maker's Mark.
Okay.
Now here, let me clean that because we used it for the Buffalo Trace, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to wash that off. And let's make sure it is pure Maker's Mark. Okay, there we go. And then, you know, again, we just fill it. And this is, again, I know we said this, but it's a 16-ounce Boston round. So if you know the size of your bottle before you get started, it makes it so you don't have to, you know, get out the measuring cup by the Maker's Mark.
That is like a caramel. Do you smell
it's
that?
very sweet.
Wow.
Great bourbon. It's a great recommendation. And so if you know the volume of your jars when you get it, You don't have to measure with a measuring cup when you're pouring. It's just one other thing you don't have to use in your kitchen. And so this is a 16 ounce, 16 ounce, 8 ounce. We know that. So then we just add the beans and we fill it to the top.
But if you're wanting a bigger jar, just get a measuring cup out and measure, get a bigger jar and you can measure it.
So there is the Paul Gingrich. Let's put a label on it. We have called it the Gingrich. Here you go. I'll let you put that on. I'm looking. Maker's Mark Bourbon. Paul Gingrich says it's his favorite. Do you split or cut for a mother jar or just leave whole? Well, that's a great question for the mother jar. In our next our next show that we do, we're actually going to have a mother jar and we'll go through it. But the answer in the mother jar is yes to all of that, because when it's time to actually use this, you can pull the beans out, whether they were whole or whether they were split, and you can put them then into your mother jar. Now, if you left the beans whole like we did in the Therese, then when you pull them out, you're probably pulling them out to get like vanilla bean paste. You're going to harvest that caviar anyway, and then you just have the pods that are left after the caviar has been harvested, and you can throw those pods in the mother jar as well. And they can just grow and grow and grow and grow, and you'll just have a kind of a whole smorgasbord of beans at the bottom of that mother jar. Most of the time they're not whole. Most of the time they're split because you've used the caviar if you left the beans whole. That's our experience.
Yeah. Someone asked, do you have to fill it to the very, very, very top? This one.
That's probably a little more full than we normally would.
It doesn't have to be to the very tippy top. I mean, we're splitting hairs, I think, at that point.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But, we know that that's 8 ounces, 16 ounces. We also know that the beans are going to displace some of that alcohol. And so whether you fill it to the top or not, you're going to be close. And if anything, you're going to be a little heavy on the beans, a little light on the spirit, which is just a sweeter extract.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Oh, Therese leaves them whole, so we did it the right way.
Yeah, we have a lot of people saying they leave them whole. Someone says, it's Christine, you leave the beans in there forever. Don't you have to take them out at some point? Yes, you do. So there's a number of ways to do it. So as soon as your alcohol content, as you start using it, gets below the bean level, then you're worried because those beans are hanging out of the alcohol and they're exposed to air. And if they're exposed to air, they could grow mold. Now, we've never seen that. We've actually done some tests to see, how quickly they could get mold on them. And in our cases, when we leave our beans exposed, we haven't seen any, but we've seen online that has indeed happened. And so as soon as you get below the bean level, you've got to do really one of two things. One, you've got to take the beans out and cut them, or you can tie them in a knot. We're going to talk about that in a minute, so that they go back down below the level of the alcohol. Or that's the point when you pull them out, you use the caviar to make paste or whatever you want to make with it, or sugar, and then you put whatever is left of the bean into your mother jar. And so that's the reason that you have a mother jar, is to be able to have a repository of vanilla beans, so you never give the vanilla beans up before you've gotten all of that sweet vanillin out of the pod or out of the center of the bean to make all of your extract. Okay.
So someone asked about the labels. We'll just tell you one more time where to find the labels.
They're on the Vanilla Extract Making, the How-To Guide Center. And in the middle of that web page, there are all of these links of how many beans do I use, what do the different beans taste like, what kind of spirits do I use, what's the difference between whiskey and vodka, what's a mother jar, and at the very bottom of that list, you'll see a link that says a free label template, and it lists the kind of label. It's that Avery 22, I'll hold it up again, where did we put it? Right here. So Avery 22820. You can get these at any Office Max or Office Depot, or you just get it on Amazon. They'll deliver it, and they come pre-scored and ready to go. And again, like I said, we're going to have a lot of different templates that we're going to put out there for you, so you'll have plenty to choose from if you decide you want to use one of ours.
Or just use your own, whatever you want.
Or just use your own. Yeah. We've actually seen a lot of labels that are even a lot better than ours from all of your creative
someone
people.
Just put Shopify labels on there for where you get the labels. Thanks, Dawn.
Jeez, you guys are awesome. Thank you.
This is such a fun party.
This is so much fun. Okay, so now.
Okay, but somebody asked, how do you know when it's ready?
Oh, that is such a good question. And there's a lot of ways to do it. So In fact, when we very first started making it, we had a chef that we gave a sample to, and it was way too early. And I will never forget that chef's face when we gave him some of our extract. And it was only like 90 days old, and we were still kind of learning how it worked. And his face was like, oh my, it wasn't ready. So here's how we know that it's ready. First off, time is your biggest indicator. We know that if you wait a year, you're always going to get a really sweet extract. But the thing that we try to look for the most is there's a point in our experience where the scent of the alcohol becomes overpowered by the scent of the vanilla. Now, alcohol is always going to be there. It's the base. And so your base is 35% alcohol at a minimum, 70 proof. So there's always going to be alcohol. There's alcohol in pure extract that you get from the grocery store. And if you smell it, there's always going to be a hint. But there's a point where the vanilla sort of outshines the alcohol. And so certainly you're going to use all your sensors or your sensory, to make the decision. But we smell it first. If we smell more vanilla than alcohol, that's an indicator that it's ready. The next thing that we'll actually do is we'll dip a finger in it and just kind of taste off our finger, or we'll put a little tiny bit on a spoon and we'll taste it, because we've gotten to where we can kind of sense that it tastes good and whether we like the sweetness. What were you going to say?
I was thinking, I was reading, Starlet puts a little milk and a little sugar in with it, I think she said. And that's how she, I think that's how she that she taste tests.
We've seen people, they'll get like a teaspoon of milk and they'll add like a drop or two of extract, and the milk kind of softens it so you can taste if it's really sweet or alcoholic. And others will use like whipped cream. And they'll put a drop or two just like in their Cool Whip, and they'll kind of stir it up and see how that tastes. So really it's personal preference too, and we're talking about food and cooking, and so it's subjective. And so one person might say that it's ready and they love it, but another person might say that is still not ready, it needs to go a little longer. So you'll develop your own method over time. We smell first, more vanilla than alcohol. Taste second, we just dip our finger, do a little taste, more vanilla than alcohol, then we're ready. Others will say add milk, whipped cream, some sort of medium to soften it to then really get the taste of the vanilla out.
Yep.
Oh, someone says mix a bit with whipped cream or milk. There it is.
Thanks, Deidre, for commenting.
Yep. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one, this one, oh my gosh. So we just have to say, if there is like a final exam in vanilla extract making, this is like the final exam in vanilla extract making. It's super fun, and it is it's just complicated. There's a lot of things.
I wouldn't say it was complicated.
You're smarter than me.
Maybe more complicated than we've done so far.
So the next extract is called the Starlet. For our very favorite Starlet, Balsamic Connolly. All of you know Starlet's name. Starlet is nominated more than everyone else. Anytime we're saying nominate someone who's been helpful, it is Starlet. And if we could have Starlet here for this, she would do it so much better. So Starlet, we hope we just kind of, get close and do this kind of the way that you would do it. We've been practicing, and we're excited to make it. We're excited to try it, and we're going to do it the very best that we can here. So the Starlet is a Mocha vanilla extract that incorporates the use of coffee beans as well as cocoa nibs. And so the recipe specifically calls for a dark rum, which we have. We've got a Bacardi, and we'll be using that. And then it calls, so for the 16 ounces of Bacardi with a 1/4 cup of coffee beans. So we have fresh coffee beans here that we got. And then a 1/4 cup of cocoa nibs, which we got right here. We're specifically using a jar with, and this is important, we're using a jar with a larger opening. This is our 16-ounce French square. And the reason we like the French square is because the opening is really, really big. And so it's easy to get beans in, and it's easy to take beans out. So there's all sorts of things we're going to talk about here that Starlet has taught us in extract making. So first off, let's finish putting all the beans in the bottle.
Okay, so here's something different. We've talked about keeping the beans whole and not slicing them or cutting them. We've talked about cutting them and then also slicing them. Well, Starlet does something different. She ties them. She ties them in a knot.
So we'll just tie one here in a knot, just like
she keeps them whole. She's not slicing them. She wants to save the caviar later for other things. She just ties them like that so they fit into the bottle perfectly.
They're shorter?
They're just shorter. They go in really nicely, and then it saves the caviar for later.
Yep. And then she's got 2 different kinds of vanilla beans in this extract. She's using half, so she uses a full, so it's 2 ounces for the 16 ounce fluid. So let me back up. So as you know, it's 1 ounce of beans for every 8 ounces of alcohol. This is going to be 16 ounces of alcohol, so we needed 2 ounces of vanilla beans. She uses 1 ounce of Madagascar and 1 ounce of Indonesian. She split it in half. And the reason is the Indonesian bean is like a real smoky, earthy bean, while the Madagascar bean is very buttery and creamy. And the 2 together with a dark rum make for a really interesting, like smoky and sweet twist that is just absolutely wonderful that we hadn't contemplated before. Someone also asked the question, cocoa nibs, and we'll get into the cocoa nibs and I'll tell you where we got them and where you can get them and how they're used. So first of all, we tie the beans in a knot. We put them all in, so now we have short beans without having to cut them, and they're all low enough that they'll be fully submersed in the spirit. Now second, she adds 1/4 cup of, these are the coffee beans, okay? Now it's wide enough that I can just kind of pour these in without making a mess here. 1 bean came out. 1/4 cup.
Okay, I just have to tell you how good this smells. The combination of the vanilla and the coffee. Oh my gosh, it is
like Starlet, you're brilliant.
Divine.
It's absolutely.
It really is. And then you add the cocoa nibs. I can't wait for this one to be done.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
So let's go ahead and add the dark rum here, and then we'll talk about, while you're adding that, I'm going to talk a little bit about cocoa nibs. The cocoa nibs are not added until 1 month later. We let the coffee beans do their trick with the vanilla beans. They're going to extract for a month. 1 month from now, we'll strain out the coffee beans and we'll add the cocoa nibs. So a lot of people are saying, what's a cocoa nib, or where do you get a cocoa nib? So we got these cocoa nibs right here, organic cocoa nibs. We got them from Whole Foods. Most of your Whole Foods grocers will have cocoa nibs. So cocoa nibs on this particular one comes from, I believe it is Peru is where this one comes from. Cocoa, like vanilla, is grown in the world's bean region. The bean region is 20 or 25 degrees north and south of the equator. Anywhere above or below that, it's inhospitable and does not work for growing beans. So cocoa beans have a lot of the same virtues of like a vanilla bean in terms of how they're grown. So the cocoa bean is grown, then the bean is actually roasted and crumbled or pulverized into a nib that is very, I'll try to hold it on my hand here. I know we're not really getting close-ups, but you can kind of see it if I reach out. So it's essentially a ground and roasted cocoa bean, and that's where you get like the pure chocolate smell. It just smells like pure, unaltered, natural chocolate. So we're gonna hold on to these cocoa nibs, and a month from now, we're gonna open up Starlet's, we're gonna open up the Starlet, and we are gonna take out the coffee beans, and we're gonna add in the cocoa nibs. We'll let those go for a month, and then after a month, we take out the cocoa nibs, we give it a smell, we see if we're getting that mocha, and as Starlet says in her recipe, you just kind of keep zeroing in on whether or not you're getting enough cocoa or enough coffee, and you just keep blending over time until it's exactly how you want it.
How you want it. That's what she says in her recipe. If it smells good to you, then you should try it.
So let's do this. We have been excited about this one. It is the Starlet. We will add the label with the date. The vanilla beans are listed. The Starlet. There's our label.
What a fitting name.
And we
Starlet
do.
is a star.
Starlet is a star.
And thank you, Stephanie, for linking people to our website. Someone asked, where do you get the beans? And she put a link in there. Thank you for that. And Stephanie also said she started a file of Starlet's recipes. So, smart girl.
Seriously. And I bet that's a pretty big file.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep up. Isn't that beautiful already?
It's
I mean, with that
I
rum.
love that bottle.
Let's talk a little bit about rum. Rum is sugar-based, and so rum just adds additional sweetness. And so that's why rum is better than vodka. So when we look at our 3 main spirits, which are vodka, rum, and bourbon, vodka we always call pure, rum we call sweet, bourbon we call smoky. And that's just the biggest, broadest distinction between each. vodka, pure vanilla with no spirit additive, not a lot of taste from the spirit. Rum, extra sweetness because it's mostly derived from, sugar cane, a lot of it, molasses, others. And then bourbon, of course, adds that smoky sweet. So pure, sweet, smoky for bourbon. Okay, only one more recipe and then we're done with our very first party. And we saved this one for last because it is just super sweet. So Carol Stormer had a number of recipes, and you've all seen Carol. She's very kind and is always helpful like everyone else here.
She's always welcoming our new members. She's always answering questions in the sweetest, nicest way. Thank you, Carol, for being kind.
Thank you, Carol.
And sharing.
So Carol sent us her recipe, and what really struck us about Carol's recipe, certainly the recipe is a classic. It's Madagascar vanilla beans, and it's in a vodka. But also it's the story behind the recipe. She acknowledges that it is a simple recipe. It's one of the basic ones that we all get started with when we're newbies. In fact, the very first extracts we made were, Madagascar beans and vodka.
Yep.
I mean, that's just how we all begin. Madagascar, vodka, that's like everyone's first. And it's simple, but the reason it's everyone's first is because it tastes good and it has sort of universal appeal. Well, Carol dedicated this recipe to her mother, and she wrote this super kind tribute to her mom and what a great cook she was and how sweet she was and how simple she was. And so Carol wanted to have this recipe named after her mom, and so in her mom's memory, it's called Willa's Fortune. That's the name of this recipe, and we're so glad, Carol, that it's on our site. We're so glad that you shared it with us and let us all kind of be part of that and to recognize and to honor Willa. She must have been an amazing mother to have raised someone as kind and as sweet as you absolutely are, and it comes through in all of your posts. So it's so fun that maybe we all can kind of feel like we know Willa a little bit. We'll think of Willa as we make this extract. Did you have something there that you were saying?
No,
I didn't interrupt.
I was going to, one more time, in case you're just joining us and you didn't see what we did with the beans. I'm going to slice and cut one more time, and hopefully you can see it really isn't difficult, and hopefully you can see it right here. We're a little delayed, so we can't exactly see everything we're doing right at the moment.
So our video shows, maybe a 30-second delay. So when we move things around to make sure they're visible, it's hard to see sometimes. I think we're good.
Okay, so here we go. We're just going to slice right down the middle.
So again, we're slicing.
Really quite easy. We're just slicing, opening up the pod for the caviar to come out, and then slice down the middle, because we have a smaller bottle.
We want to make it fit. And with, just one slice down the middle, it's still easy to get the beans out when they're done. You haven't really made a mess. We don't slice, when we slice the beans the long way, we're not cutting it into two. We're really just opening up one side. And so we don't usually put enough pressure where we go all the way through the back and it slices them that way. We don't do that. By slicing it open, it exposes the caviar, but still contains some of that caviar mess.
Yeah, and also if you have a bigger bottle, you can still put it in whole, and I just think it's pretty.
But here's what we wanted to do with this. So Carol uses Kettle One vodka, which is a very nice vodka. That was her recommendation. So we went to the store and got that yesterday. We'll go ahead and fill it up. Did we clean that already with the rum? Let me just wash that out really quickly. And so we want to do a little experiment by comparing the Therese and Willa's Fortune, because both of them use a vodka, so we can watch it very clearly. But the Willa's Fortune, we sliced open and split the vanilla beans, so we can watch them extract. And the Therese, we left whole. And so we're going to compare as we get back together again, and we'll give updates, and we'll watch how quickly they extract. And as these all become finished down the road, we're going to have taste tests. We're going to do all this. So we're going to follow the journey of all 5 of these extracts over the next 12 months so we can all learn together how the different spirits interact. And of course, we're going to add more new extracts and more new recipes as we go along. But these first 5, we're going to follow their journey all the way through. So a year from now, we're going to be having taste tests, and I'm sure they're all going to be wonderful. But we're going to compare the Willa's Fortune with the Therese, and we're going to watch them extract together to see what we see. Let's see.
Someone asked if you rinse the bag with the spirits that the beans came in. What I'm noticing...
That's a good idea. Go ahead.
What a lot of the ladies are doing with the bags is they're putting sugar in the bags and sealing them up or closing them up again. I think Carol says she uses a pin to close them up. And then they let the oils from the bag soak into the sugar and make vanilla sugar. So that's one thing you can do with these yummy bags that still have all the oil in them.
And someone asked, are we using the same vodka for both? We're not. I mean, the experiment isn't perfectly scientific because on the Therese really likes the Grey Goose, whereas Carol really likes the Kettle One. And so we added their specific spirit because that's what they recommend, but we should still be able to get a good idea of the speed of extraction between a whole and between one that has been cut. And we're going to put Carol's label on, Willa's Fortune, and there we go. We're off. So here we are. We have just created together in 45 minutes.
Cedra.
What?
She put some in her pillowcase.
No, is that what you said? The beans, the pouch?
The pouch.
The pouch? You put the pouch in your pillowcase?
Oh, I bet you have wonderful vanilla
Oh
dreams.
my heavens, what a wonderful idea. That is so...
Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams. Oh my gosh, I love that. All these...
Are you dreaming of cookies and cakes? That's right, Andrea.
That is, I think, the greatest thing I've ever heard. Every time we think we've seen it all, somebody does something new and we just
you
love
guys,
it.
you're awesome.
Oh my heavens. That is so much fun. Well, so here we are. We've made 5 different extracts. They're all different. Some are simple, some are complicated. Different methods with the sous vide method that we didn't use, and Paul will have information on that. And then we're going to follow these extracts on their journey over the next year, and all of you are invited as we check in on them to see how they're doing. As we wrap up, we just wanted to say thank you. The goal for us, in starting that group was to just have a happy place. Sometimes you get on Facebook or you read the news. It's just been hard over the last year. And, this was much of a break kind of for us to just, forget ourselves and associate with really kind people and build relationships around something that we all love. And we all love extract making. It can be super simple if you're brand new and making your first one. There's a place for you. And then if you're starlet, and it can be incredibly complicated, and you can add new ingredients, and you can experiment, and you can try lots of different things. And so
I can't wait to add the cocoa to Starlet.
I know this is going to be so much fun. And so
and that she's blending. There are so many different combinations. Blend your beans. Add the Indonesian with the Madagascar.
Yep. So we will continue to be on our group all the time. We'll continue to offer free bean rewards as we grow. We're going to keep giving away 1 ounce of vanilla beans every time we grow by 500 members, all the way up now to 20,000. And then we'll have, another giveaway after that. And we'll continue to do our weekly, free beans for kindness because we really want our group to be a place where smiles reign and kindness is prevalent and strangers are helping strangers, because we're all kind of bound together by this wonderful, sweet little vanilla bean.
And we just learn from each other.
And we learn from each other. So thank you to everyone, particularly to our 5 first superstars. We will be reaching out to a lot of other group members to expand our blog even more. And we'll be asking for more recipes, and then with your permission, we'll post them on our website. And we always give out free beans to those that are willing to share their recipes on our website and then share them with others as well. And so that's something we'll continue to do all year. But really, from our home to your home, thank you. Thanks for being part of our lives. Thanks for
coming to our party.
Thanks for coming to our little party here, our virtual party.
And maybe when COVID's over, you guys can have your own vanilla parties, and we can get back to being social.
Amen. Hopefully very soon. Someone brought up the idea that we ought to get together once a year and have like a convention, a vanilla extract group. We're going to have to look at that because that sounds like a lot of fun. And as fun as this was, just reading your comments, I think how fun it would be if we were all together. So that's something that we'll certainly have to look at when this whole COVID thing is over. In the meantime, keep smiling, keep creating fun extracts. If you have questions, ask our wonderful group members. And thank you so much for being part of our vanilla extract making family.
Yeah,
We
good
appreciate
luck.
it.
Good luck on your vanilla extracting adventures.
Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye. Have a great day and a great week. Bye-bye.